Hey, what is up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you are doing well in this crazy, crazy world that we are currently living in. If you are new here, hey. Every week I like to sit down and just chit-chat about a true crime case that has me interested. So if you are interested in true crime or intrigued by true crime, then I highly suggest you subscribe and join this little weirdness that's going on. I also hope that you like awkward conversations because that's exactly what you're gonna get out of me. So this video is the second installment of a little series that I'm doing where I go over the lives and deaths of musicians that we have lost tragically. Last week we talked about Kurt Cobain and, his death and the conspiracies that followed, and honestly, I'm still not quite sure where I stand with that. So with the Kurt Cobain case, we really don't know what truly happened. I mean, everybody has their speculations and their theories, but with this case that we're going to be talking about today, we know exactly what happened, and honestly, that doesn't help lessen the blow any whatsoever, because this case honestly is truly it's heartbreaking, for lack of better words. So before we jump into today's case, I'm going to put a little disclaimer here that if I say any of the words too bland or incorrectly, I can't roll my R's at all. So if I say any of the words that are supposed to have like a little twang behind them without one, I do apologize. And if I say anything incorrectly, I apologize. I'm also going to put another disclaimer here that I mean absolutely no disrespect to anyone that I talk about in these videos, whether they be alive or dead. This is just me compiling information that I found on the internet and putting it into one video for your viewing, I would say pleasure, but it's not really a pleasure what we get to talk about. So for your viewing education?
Are you stupid or something?
So with that being said, this week we're going to be taking a deep dive into the life and death of Selena. Selena Quintanilla was born on April 16, 1971 in Lake Jackson, Texas. She was the third and youngest child of Marcella Quintanilla and Abraham Quintanilla Jr. She had a sister named Suzette and a brother named Abraham III, but he was better known as AB, so that's what I will be referring to him as throughout this video. So Abraham was a Mexican-American musician from Corpus Christi, Texas, and he played in a band called Los Dinos, which translates to the guys. Kind of cool name, not gonna lie. And he really wanted to pass down his love and passion for music to his kids. So one day, while Abraham was teaching AB how to play the guitar, Selena came into the room and just kind of started singing along with her father. And Abraham immediately realized that Selena had incredible talent just naturally. So Abraham wasted no time in trying to develop Selena's vocal skills. He told People magazine, quote, "Her timing, her pitch were perfect. I could see it from day one," end quote. At this point, Selena was only 6 years old, so she was one of the few musicians, because spoiler alert, she becomes a musician, who just had it. They didn't have to take singing lessons or anything like that. She just had a raw and natural talent. So in 1982, Abraham opened his first Tex-Mex restaurant in Lake Jackson called Papagayos. And it was here where Selena and her siblings would perform for the customers. Selena would sing, AB would play guitar, and Suzette would play the drums. But they had to have a band name, right? Like if they were going to actually make it. So in honor of Abraham's previous band, Selena y los Dinos was born. This would not last, however, and the restaurant was closed the following year due to a recession. This unfortunately caused the family to file for bankruptcy, and they were evicted from their home. With musical aspirations in mind, the family relocated to Corpus Christi, where the young band would perform on street corners, at weddings, and different kinds of parties as a means for some kind of income. Abraham acted as their manager and began promoting the band as much as possible. It wasn't long before Selena started gaining some kind of popularity. People were seeing just how talented she truly was. She loved singing and performing and had such an incredible stage presence at such a young age. But she knew that this was a job. You know, this was how her family put food on the table. So it didn't come as a surprise when her father pulled her out of school so she could travel and perform whenever she had the chance and not have to work around a school schedule. At this point, she was only in the 8th grade, which honestly was a little bananas crazy to me whenever I first read that. But she did end up getting an education, so when she was 17 years old, she received her high school diploma from the American School of Correspondence in Chicago. And eventually, she even enrolled in Pacific Western University, where she majored in business administration. In 1984, the band recorded their self-titled LP under Freddie Records. So Selena wanted to primarily sing English songs because English was her first language and she didn't really know how to speak a lot of Spanish. But her father and other record executives thought that Selena would be better off singing Tejano music compositions. So Tejano music is honestly just a bunch of different genres rolled into one, essentially. It has like country, jazz, roots of German polka, and Mexican influences. So for her to do this during recording sessions for this album and with guidance from her father, Selena learned how to speak Spanish. In 1985, to help promote the album, Selena appeared on the Johnny Canales Show, which was just a popular Spanish language radio program on which she continued to appear for many years after. The band was often turned down by Texas music venues because of the band's age and because Selena was the lead singer. So her father had been told by different promoters that Selena would never really make it because she was a female in a genre historically dominated by men. By 1988, Selena had released 5 more LP records. I'm not even going to try to say some of the names because I don't want to embarrass myself. So here's the covers. So Selena was discovered by musician Rick Trevino, who was also the founder of the Tejano Music Awards, where Selena won the Female Vocalist of the Year in 1987 and for 9 consecutive years after. So there was a music producer named Jose Behar, and he was the head of a newly formed label called EMI Latin Records. And alongside the new head of Sony Music Latin, they watched Selena perform at the 1989 Tejano Music Awards. Jose was searching for new Latin acts and wanted to immediately sign Selena to EMI's label Capitol Records, while Sony Music Latin offered Abraham twice Capitol's signing fee. Selena chose EMI Latin's offer over Sony's because of the potential for a crossover album. She really wanted to put out an album that had both English and Spanish songs, but the producer's request for the crossover album was denied because Selena didn't have the fan base to sell such an album yet. Selena released her self-titled debut album on October 17, 1989. This album peaked at number 7 on the US Billboard Regional Mexican Albums chart, becoming Selena's first recording to debut on a national music chart. In the same year, Coca-Cola wanted Selena to become a spokesperson for the brand in Texas. So the jingle used in her first 2 commercials for the company was composed by AB and Chris Perez. Okay, so y'all know who Chris Perez is, right? No? Okay. I'm gonna tell ya. So Chris joined Selena Eostinos several months earlier as the band's new guitarist, and began having some feelings for Selena. He had the hots for Selena despite having a girlfriend back in San Antonio, so no thank you, sir. After a trip down to Mexico with the band, Chris thought it would be best for them both if he were to distance himself from Selena, But he found that to be basically impossible and chose to try to build a relationship with her. They expressed their feelings for each other at a Pizza Hut restaurant. Cute. And shortly thereafter became a couple, hiding their relationship from Abraham in fears that he would break them up. Selena released her second studio album, Ven Conmigo, in September of 1990. So Selena was steadily gaining popularity. You know, she had style, she had this magnetic stage presence, and a growing fan base. But it is one fan that would change everything. A registered nurse and a huge fan of Selena named Yolanda Saldivar contacted Abraham after one of Selena's concerts to see if she could start a fan club in San Antonio. Abraham thought that this fan club would be a great idea. He believed that it would bring some kind of exposure for the band. Yolanda would soon weasel her way in, becoming a close friend of Selena and her family, and was trusted to become the president of the fan club in 1991. She was trusted. Big emphasis on the word trusted. Eventually, I guess you could say that Yolanda became Selena's assistant almost. Like, she managed to spend a lot of time with Selena, and even in like pictures and stuff, you can see just like this little woman lurking in the shadows. Over time, Selena really started to see Yolanda as more of a friend rather than an employee, because Selena was just such a nice person. You know, she really wanted to see the good in everyone, and she was so humble that she didn't think that she was above being friends with her fans or her employees. You know, like, she wanted to be close to them. We will talk more about Yolanda in a little bit. Don't worry, unfortunately, she comes back. So in 1991, a singer named Alvaro Torres wrote a duet that he wanted to record with Selena. The song was called Buenos Amigos and was produced by Enrique Elizondo. I'm so sorry if I said that wrong. And was released on Torres' 10th studio album. I'm gonna freaking butcher this. Nada se compara contigo. I'm so sorry. The song peaked at number 1 on the US Billboard Top Latin Songs chart, giving Selena her first number 1 single. The song's music video earned Selena and Torres 2 nominations at the 1992 Billboard Music Awards. The track was also nominated for Duo of the Year at the 1992 Tejano Music Awards. This song put Selena on the map. Quite literally, this song enabled her to tour the east and west coast of the United States, when before she was mainly just stuck on the south. That was really lame. I'm so sorry. So one day while everyone was on the tour bus, Selena's sister Suzette saw Selena and Chris, I guess, flirting, decided to be a little snitch, no offense, and told Abraham. Abraham proceeded to kick Chris off of the tour bus and told him that their relationship was done. But you could not keep these two lovebirds apart, and they continued their relationship despite Abraham's disapproval. Ironically enough, though, Selena's mom, Marcella, was totally cool with their relationship. Like, she liked Chris, and he made Selena happy, and to Marcella, that was all that mattered. But Abraham's disapproval stemmed so deep that he actually threatened to disband the group if they continued their relationship. When they refused to break up, Abraham fired Chris from the band, I guess thinking that this would keep them apart. But no. On the morning of April 2nd, 1992, Chris and Selena decided to elope, believing that Abraham would never approve of their relationship. Selena thought that Abraham would have to approve of their relationship if they were married, and this way they wouldn't have to hide their feelings for each other. But within hours of their marriage, the media somehow found out and announced their elopement. A month after they got married, Selena released her third studio album, Entre a Mi Mundo, I'm praying that I said that right, in May of 1992. The album was critically acclaimed as her quote-unquote breakthrough album. The recording peaked at number 1 on the US Billboard Regional Mexican Albums chart for 8 consecutive months. This became the first Tejano album by a female artist to sell over 300,000 copies. The album produced the single Como la Flor, and this single helped Selena dominate the Latin music charts and became crazy popular in Mexico, where Mexican Americans and Tejano music were generally not liked among citizens. The song was nominated for Song of the Year at the 1993 Tejano Music Awards, and it peaked at number 6 on the US Billboard Top Latin Songs chart. In 1994, this album ranked as the second best-selling regional Mexican album of all time. Selena released Live a year later, and this album was recorded during a free concert at the Memorial Coliseum in Corpus Christi on February 7, 1993. This album was named Album of the Year by the Billboard Latin Music Awards in May of 1994, and it won Album of the Year at the 1994 Tejano Music Awards and won a Grammy that same year. So long story short, Selena was just crushing it. Aside from music, in 1994, Selena began designing and manufacturing her own clothing line, even going as far as opening up 2 boutiques called Selena Etc., one location being in Corpus Christi, the other in San Antonio. Yolanda ended up managing both of these boutiques because, like I said before, she weaseled her way in and somehow gained the trust of Selena and her family. They were impressed with the way that she ran the fan club, and I guess figured, why not have her do this too? Seems like she can handle it, right? Selena released her 4th studio album, Amor Prohibido, I'm so sorry, in March of 1994. The album debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard Top Latin Albums chart and number 1 on the US Billboard Regional Mexican Albums charts. After peaking at number 1 on the top Latin albums, the album remained in the top 5 for the rest of the year and into early 1995. This album really popularized Tejano music to a younger and wider audience than at any other time in the genre's history. The album was nominated for a Grammy for Best Mexican American Album at the 37th Grammy Awards in 1995. It won Record of the Year at the 1995 Tejano Music Awards. It was then where the media started referring to Selena as the Queen of Tejano music and the Mexican Madonna. In late 1994, EMI chairman Charles Kopelman decided that Selena had achieved her goals in the Tejano genre. He wanted to promote her as an English-language solo pop artist. She was finally getting her crossover album. By the time Selena performed to a record-breaking sold-out concert at the Houston Astrodome in February of 1995, they had already begun to work on this album. Okay, so 8 months after Yolanda started working as the manager over Selena's boutiques, Selena actually signed Yolanda as her registered agent in San Antonio. After this agreement, Yolanda moved from San Antonio to Corpus Christi to be closer to Selena. Remember, she always had to be right there with Selena. She always had to be right up Selena's butt. Always. In December of 1994, the boutiques began to suffer after the staff at both locations began to decrease. Is somebody seriously mowing a lawn right now? According to previous employees, Yolanda would just straight up fire somebody if she did not like them. Employees at the stores would often complain to Selena about Yolanda, but Selena dismissed the claims, believing that her friend wouldn't do anything to negatively affect her businesses. But eventually, Abraham caught wind of it and warned Selena to be careful, stating that Yolanda might not be the best influence for her. True. It was at this time where people started to see that Yolanda's friendship with Selena was borderline obsessive. She had to be in the middle of everything that Selena was doing, and she couldn't let Selena have any kind of space without her being right there. According to Abraham, in January of 1995, he began receiving phone calls from fans who had paid for their fan club membership but had not received anything in return. So he began an investigation. It was then where he discovered that Yolanda had embezzled more than $30,000 worth of forged checks from the fan club and the boutiques. Abraham held a meeting with Selena and Suzette on the night of March 9th to confront Yolanda. Abraham presented Yolanda with the inconsistencies of the missing funds and pretty much told her that if she didn't prove him wrong, that he would involve the police, and he banned Yolanda from having any kind of contact with Selena. But Selena didn't just want to throw her friendship with Yolanda away. She thought that Yolanda was essential to the success of the clothing line in Mexico that Selena was trying to get started. Selena also wanted to keep her close because, she had bank records, statements, financial statements, stuff that was necessary for doing their taxes. Yolanda kept putting off handing over the bank statements and financial records by saying that she was physically and sexually assaulted while in Mexico. Selena took Yolanda to a medical clinic on March 31st, 1995, for her to be examined for this assault. During that visit, she was given a brief physical examination by the clinic's doctor, but this did not include a gynecological exam specifically done in cases of sexual assault. So they couldn't necessarily prove that it happened, but we all know now that it didn't, and that she was just trying to cover her own mistakes. She just didn't want to provide the statements because all of the statements would have proved that she was embezzling the money, and she knew at this point that she was caught and that there was no way out. Later on that morning, Selena agreed to meet Yolanda at the Days Inn Hotel in Corpus Christi to get these financial records. And honestly, at this point, Selena was fed up and demanded them. Yolanda could tell that she was losing her friend and refused to let this happen. So she grabbed a Taurus Model 85 .38 caliber revolver from her purse and pointed it at Selena. When Selena attempted to run out of the room, Yolanda shot her once in her lower right shoulder, severing an artery, causing severe blood loss. Selena ran to the lobby, leaving a 392-foot-long trail of blood behind her. The front desk clerk immediately called an ambulance, and before she collapsed, Selena named Yolanda as her attacker.
We have a woman ran in the lobby, said she's been shot. She's laying on the floor and there's blood. Okay, where are you? How old is she? She looks about 20. Okay, who shot her? She's in the lobby right now? Yes, ma'am. She's just passed out. Okay. How do you have to call in? I think you need to send a police unit too. It'll go off from you. Okay. You don't know anything else about who might have done it or anything like that? It's another lady, that's all I know. We're trying to find out. And then, okay, this lady's about 40 years old? 20. Okay. She got me on the bus about 158. Okay, who shot her? The lady in 158 shot the lady over here. Okay, is the lady in 158 still there? I don't know. They shot somebody. She's taking off. Was the vehicle on foot? She was on foot. They don't know. Well, we need somebody can give us some information so we can get the suspect. I've already got the ambulance and the police over there. They're en route. I need a car. I need a host car. What does she look like? Her name? Yes. Yolanda? Yolanda? She's the suspect? Yes, ma'am. What's her last name? S-A-L-D-I-A? She's with Selena Incorporated, the lady from the singer. Okay, but where did she go? Do you know if she ran out? Which way she wearing? What is she wearing? Yeah, we've already got the police and the ambulance en route over there, but if somebody can give me some information, we can catch her. She can't tell me nothing. The lady that shot's laying down on the floor. Okay, where did she get shot at? What part of her body? Part of the body that she... the police are on the phone, honey. Call me right back, okay? All right, bye-bye.
Yolanda attempted to leave in her truck but was stopped by a police officer. This caused a 9.5-hour standoff to ensue between Yolanda, the police, and FBI, where Yolanda held the gun at her own head, crying, saying how she killed her best friend, how it was an accident, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, I have zero patience for this little woman. She knew exactly what she was doing when she put the gun in her purse, and she knew even more so what she was doing when she pulled it out. I have no... you can say it was an accident all you want, but no. I'm not buying it for a second. Despite attempts to save Selena, she had just lost too much blood, and at just 23 years old, Selena Quintanilla Perez was pronounced dead. She had accomplished so much and worked so hard for someone that she trusted to quite literally take it all from her in the blink of an eye. It's infuriating. On April 1st, Bayfront Plaza in Corpus Christi held a vigil which drew 3,000 fans. During the event, it was announced that a public viewing of the casket would be held at the Bayfront Auditorium the following day. An hour before the doors opened, rumors started swarming saying that the casket was empty, which prompted the family to have an open casket viewing. Between 30,000 to 40,000 fans passed by Selena's casket. I go back and forth on whether or not I agree with this. Part of me feels like that this should have been kept private for just the family. But the other part of me feels like Selena really loved her fans and she viewed them as part of her family. So on April 12th, 1995, 2 weeks after Selena's death, George W. Bush, who was the governor of Texas at the time, declared her birthday, April 16th, as Selena Day in the state. In October of 1995, a Houston jury convicted Yolanda of first-degree murder and sentenced her to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 30 years in 2025, which was the maximum prison term allowed in Texas that could be imposed at that time. She is where she needs to be, and I don't think that she will be paroled in 2025, because in my opinion she's known as one of the most hated women in Texas, and I can say that because I live here. People still listen to Selena all the time, and people still love and appreciate and miss Selena. So I don't think that Yolanda will be released, because I feel like it may have been so many years ago, but people still feel that hurt. And so I think that Yolanda is where she needs to be. Yeah, so that's all I gotta say on her. She deserves to be forgotten. Is that harsh? Oh well, killing someone's harsh. That's just my thoughts. Dreaming of You, the crossover album that Selena had been working on at the time of her death, was released in July of 1995. It sold 175,000 copies on the day of its release in the United States, a then record for a female vocalist, and sold 331,000 copies its first week. It debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard 200 chart, becoming the first album by a Hispanic artist to do so. In 1997, a biopic about her life and death, really introducing Jennifer Lopez, was released in 1,850 theaters worldwide and grossed $11,615,722, making it the second highest grossing film debut that week. She had festivals named in her honor, statues and monuments put up of her, and even a cosmetic line released in her name. Selena is continually making strides in the world, her family and her husband Chris Perez keeping her legacy alive. Selena wanted to be remembered as a role model, and I truly believe that she is. She was so caring, so humble and down to earth. It's honestly just heartbreaking because she was so young and she wasn't able to see and experience the massive success that her music continued to be through the years. she, like I said before, she loved her fans and she loved to perform, and someone who didn't deserve to be in her orbit took it all away from her. They took everything from her. I really feel like the music industry took a big hit the day that she left us. It really did.
The reason I'm really appreciative of everything that's going on around me, because of the fact I never expected it, and I want to keep that attitude.
Well, that is going to be it for me today, you guys. Thank you as always for watching this video. I have a hair in my mouth. Okay. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a thumbs up or a like, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. If this is your first video of mine to see, hey, thanks for joining us, and join the weirdness and subscribe. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I try to put up a video every single week, but last week I recorded, and guess what? My footage was gone. I literally recorded this last weekend and my footage was gone, and I was too mad to even think about sitting down and redoing it because I didn't want to be in a bad mood. And recording, because when I'm in a bad mood, I'm sure it's obvious. So, love that for me. Anyway, so yeah, as I said in the beginning of this video, I am doing a small series where I talk about musicians that we have lost in a tragic way. So yeah, this was the second video in that. So if you want to see my first one, I will be linking that in the description box. That video was over Kurt Cobain and, you know, his life, death, and conspiracies that followed. Like I said before, I'm really not sure where I stand on that anymore. I was so convinced that he had been murdered, but now I'm not so sure. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah, I've said everything. I think I'm good. I think I'm good. So, stay weird, stay safe, stay rad, and stay home. That's a lot of stays, but stay. Just stay. Yes. I will see you guys in my next one. I'm sick of saying bye, guys. I want to do something different. Bye! Bye, guys. Since I can't think of anything else to say. Bye.